Hi.
Hi. What's going on over here? You got the podcast or something?
You sound exactly like my whole family whenever I record any kind of podcast at my parents' house.
They're like outside the door just waiting.
What do you do? Who are you talking to in there?
Who is it?
Not a single one of my family sounds like that.
You're like, this
What are
sounds
you
just like
doing?
someone who is literally not a part of my family.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody who I don't know at all, and I'm not at all related to.
Welcome everyone to Hot Mess Moments. Totally not late on this episode this week.
Yeah, that tweet you saw that came 2 days after our release day about how we're late. You didn't see that shit.
You didn't see it. But it's worth it because we got some fire ass stuff to talk about today.
I'm not gonna lie, Dylan. I just want to binge the rest of the season in one more sitting.
No,
Can we?
you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
Why must you torture me as if I'm in 2005?
But was I not wrong that these were fire ass episodes? Like, and they make sense to watch side by side.
Yeah, you know what also makes sense? Watching the next one.
I'm curious. I'm going to be curious about your thoughts on the next episode because
is it kind of controversial?
I don't,
not in terms of like controversy.
It's not that it wasn't controversial back in the day, but I'm curious in a 2021 lens how it covers the topic that it talks about in the episode.
Wide set vaginas.
Wide set vaginas is exactly that. Also, it's like a weird episode that like kind of fits in with what's going on, but also like doesn't fit in with what's going on. It like kind of focuses on a side character, and it like it's interesting. Is it
Rose?
No.
Are we about to get a Rose and Bernard centered episode?
No, but there might be one coming up soon.
I'm like so excited.
Wait, let me see.
That.
No. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's the dealio. Because like we said, we're going to be starting to do. You guys, your face got so.
You know why? Because you went, we might get one soon, and I got all excited. Then you went, let me see. No.
No. Okay, so hear me out. Okay. So for Lost, we've made this commitment for anyone that's listening. We're going to start doubling up on episodes for all of our podcasts so we can get through the shows faster.
Yes.
So next week is still a single episode because that'll kick us off to have enough to do two, and then like we're done with season 2. So next week will be the episode titled Dave. The episodes after that will be SOS, and then also 2 for the road.
Okay.
And then the week after that is just question mark, and then 3 minutes. And then the finale, which is a 2-parter called Live Together, Die Alone, Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. That doesn't work.
What?
I was gonna make a stupid song being like, did Madonna and Justin Timberlake write 3 minutes?
They did.
Based off of this, then I realized their song is 4 minutes. Not 4 minutes.
They actually, it's a typo. It was actually meant
to be 3 minutes. Which one influenced the other? Well, actually, when did 4 minutes come out? Probably like what, 2008?
Yeah.
So it had to have come out after this episode.
For sure.
So okay. So
this season came out around 2006. Okay.
Where were you in 2006? What were you doing with your life?
Oh my God, what was I doing? I was a sophomore in high school. And I remember season 2 was like the season that put its hooks into me. And that's when I like really like Pinhead style, Pinassi.
You figured out that you were destined to be a Cenobite.
I was
you couldn't distinguish pain from pleasure.
That's how I felt with the show. Sometimes I watch it and I'm like, it hurts, but I love it.
Yeah, you know what hurts? Being dangled in an era of binge TV and an internet full of spoilers and everybody going, ooh, you watch Lost? What do you feel? And I have to go, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't know shit. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much better once we start doing 2 episodes or 2 episodes per podcast. Yeah, I think I was a sophomore in high school. I believe
the fall or the spring.
You know what? I might have been a freshman
in the spring.
Yeah,
and then a sophomore and fall.
Sophomore, and
I think that's what you were because you're about to turn 31 in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, and I graduated in 2009, and so
I graduated in 2006 and started college in 2006.
That makes sense because I remember when I was a senior in season 5. That's when podcasts were really kicking off.
Yep.
And there was a Lost podcast my art teacher was obsessed with that I listened in, and I heard them talking about Lost. He used to play it during class. Like while we were doing art, he would just like listen to a podcast in the back. And he'd have it set pretty low, so like only really he could hear. But I sat close enough to where I could hear what was happening.
I have this image of you just pushing kids out of the way and being like, I'm going to sit in this seat for no reason.
Literally. And then I caught on that it was a Lost podcast. And so I told him, and he was creeped out because he was like, oh my God, one of my students knows that I'm obsessed with Lost. And I was like, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. I'm also a huge fan of Lost.
I'm a part of the Dharma Initiative.
And then I bridged the boundary and I called into the podcast one time. And they had this thing called Theory Hour or whatever, or Theory Time. And I once called in with the dumbest fucking theory, knowing it was a dumb fucking theory, hoping it would get on the podcast. Because what you would do back then is they couldn't do it live. So you would just like record yourself and then they would put it on the podcast. And it showed up on one of the podcasts. And when I heard it on his radio, because I didn't have any access to listen. So I would go into class and hope that, and it came up and I was like, hey, that's me. And he never talked to me again. That our teacher was like, he didn't say it directly, but he was just like, all right, you've crossed a boundary. I'm no longer listening to this podcast in this class anymore. He never listened to the podcast anymore. And it was all focused on the class.
That's such a shit teacher. Why would you bond over something with your student?
I don't know, but like, I think for him, he was just like creeped out. He was just like, okay, this is supposed to be something that I like. And then like, you've gone so far as to call into the podcast that I'm currently listening to just because you know you're going to hear yourself in it. And he was just like, all right.
You know what's so great about this is I am such a Leo that I'm like, I don't see anything wrong with that. Hearing your own voice on a podcast,
I hear that as ingenuity, honey. I planned in advance. That shows critical thinking skills. That shows organization. Like I planned that. This is a
clear example of why Leos and Aquarius are like best friends, because Aquarius will fucking come out of the box and be like, I'm going to plan this thing and it's going to be ingenuity and all that kind of stuff. And the Leos are like, yes, you better work. You heard your own voice. Yes. Yes.
Literally. No.
That's so funny.
You know what? My theory was completely wrong and got proven wrong within like 2 episodes. So it was really funny. I'll tell the story again once we get to that episode in season 5. It's the dumbest fucking theory.
Here's the thing though, not everybody can come up with 100% accurate theories like me. And especially, a freshman / sophomore in high school.
Absolutely. Like I was trying to bat in your league and I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I couldn't bat in this league when I was 3 years older than you. I was going on to adulthood. I couldn't bat in this league that I'm currently in, you have to really hone your craft of being a badass 100% of the time. And that is what I've done.
My obsessions were Lost and Cloverfield. So those were my references for like sci-fi as a kid. And so my theories were stupid.
Okay. When you were obsessed with Lost, I was obsessed with Desperate Housewives at this time. And I specifically remember my English teacher having to pull me off to AP English, not just English. AP English had to pull me to the side and go, I need you to stop making references to Desperate Housewives in class discussion. Because I was obsessed with this really resonated with me at the time.
It's a good show.
And I still quote it often, but this one quote that came out of it was between Brie Vandekamp and her gay son. And
I actually hated when they introduced him as being gay.
I know, it was bad. Well, if you look back at it now, it was like, great. They made the evil kid gay.
Yes.
Like, good job.
Yeah.
But they made, so it was like Andrew versus Brie, and he's like, something along the lines of like, I hate you or whatever. And like Brie has this whole like moment, and she says something along the lines of, the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. Because
it's bottoming,
you hate,
bitch.
You still care. And the amount of time, like fucking 17-year-old Beth was like, oh my God, what a profound statement.
Could you imagine if she said something super homophobic? Like, I hope you choke on cock, you little.
Oh my gosh. That just
you're
really
like, oh my
resonates with
God.
me.
You're like, she serves.
And my English teacher was like, I need you to stop referencing choking on cock in the middle of class discussions. Actually, that class, okay.
You're like, they actually choked on cock in that class.
I'm going to spill some tea about that class.
Tell.
Okay. We said.
Oh, I have some tea about the art class also. I'm like actually a little nervous to tell this just because I don't like want to call this teacher out. She did a lot. Call them out.
But we sat in two like horseshoes, like arcs, right? And she sat in basically a computer chair that was on wheels in the front of the class. And so she would literally be like, what do you guys think? And like turn her chair to the other side, right? Back and forth.
Yeah.
And she wasn't good about keeping the legs together. Nor was she good about wearing underwear.
She just showed vag.
And I'll never forget one time she turned over to my friend, and my friend literally went like that. And she goes, Josh, you need anything? He goes, I need to go to the nurse. And then he just ran out of the classroom, went to the nurse.
Oh my God. That sounds awful. What the fuck?
You are robotic to me. Is it me or you?
That's me. Am I here, there, everywhere?
I hope you guys are hearing this because also it is frozen on Dylan's face, and it's so funny.
Oh, no.
And I just hear, oh no, like.
I don't know what's wrong with my internet.
It sounds like you're being auto-tuned. Normally I would say, oh, we should try to cut this out. But to be honest with you, it is worth it. This is great.
I don't know what's wrong with my internet.
Oh, wait, you're starting to kind of move again.
We are back after internet issues.
That was such a funny moment, though. It was pretty great. But let's not waste any more internet time here.
Yes.
Let's jump into this episode because we got lots to talk. Well, this episode's 2 episodes.
Oh my God, yes.
2 episodes to talk about.
So we're going to be covering now and reviewing Lost Season 2, Episode 16, The Whole Truth, and Episode 17, Lockdown. So one funny pun that I've realized is the hatch lockdown. So that's why it's called Lockdown, but also lock was downed. So it's called Lockdown.
But yeah.
Took me like 20 years to figure out that pun, but I did.
That's cute. Took me about
I'm also going to be
seconds.
eating during this podcast.
I'm here for it. I'm here for a mukbang cast. You know, why not? And if you guys are watching the video, you can get the full effect. And apparently it's a very hot sandwich, temperature-wise. I don't know about spice-wise.
No, not spice. It's like temperature-wise. This is not sponsored, ordered from Domino's. I like their Mediterranean vegetarian or veggie sandwich. It's very nice. It makes me feel healthy, even though it's not.
So here's, me ordering sweet green every day and being like, I'm eating a salad. And it's like, yeah,
3,000 calories. Like
it, you know what? It is like 900 calories though, that salad. And I'm like, At least I'm eating 900 calories worth of better food than I normally would. I'm like, oh, you mean this good rice and mixed greens, all other stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But you know who also is eating well? Everybody in that damn hatch.
Yeah. And we learn why in lockdown in the second episode that we cover, why the food, or that's a big question. Why is the food being delivered if the Dharma Initiative is like this old ass company? But before we get into the second episode, let's talk about episode 16, which is the whole truth. Now, I need your thoughts, feelings, ratings, concerns, theories, everything.
I'm going to give you 100% the truth right now. All right. We watched this 2 nights ago where the original intention was for us to record right after. So I did not take notes. So I might need help in remembering what is the first episode and what is the second episode. Now, the first episode was the sun-centered episode.
Yeah.
And right out the gate, I know this is something we normally save for the end. I'm putting it out there right now. Jin is LVP. 100%. I don't care. I don't give a shit that he realizes his mistake at the end, because an abuser is always a fucking abuser. And like, this is just a cycle. And he's at the point where he goes, oh, I need to change myself. Will you take me back? Fuck Jin. I was a fan of him. You are hot though. I was a fan of him for a while, like, because he really seemed to be changing. But you grabbing your wife and ripping up her plants because you're afraid of her safety, bitch, you are the scariest person in that moment for her. So fuck all the way off. That got me so angry in like the first 2 minutes of the entire episode. And like my blood was boiling for the rest of the time.
She deserves so much better.
She really does. And here's the thing. She doesn't have like better prospects on this island. It's like, would you like to be with controlling Charlie, controlling Locke, controlling Jack, controlling Sawyer?
She needs to become a lesbian.
Oh,
I would love that storyline of Sun and Kate
and Claire. Oh, I want Sun, Claire, and Kate to just be a throuple, a lesbian throuple. Honestly, though, so here's the thing. My rating for this for that episode is a solid 7. I'm going to give that one a 7. I think it was a really good, super solid episode. I just think the second episode just had like a lot more meat in it and more juice and more lore, and like when they make sense to go together. But the second one clearly has more going for it in many ways. I also found the flashbacks of Sun kind of like, okay.
So I think the reason they did the flashbacks that they did was to showcase, so far, Sun has been very one note. She is a victim of abuse. Yeah. That is all she's been. We've seen her stand up for herself on the island, which has been very powerful and awesome to see. This episode is supposed to complicate that matter and show you that even though she is a victim of abuse, she is also not a perfect human being. And we get that did this happen moment of, did she cheat on Jin and not tell him about it? And now there's potential she could be pregnant with not Jin's baby.
What? I didn't get that.
That was definitely, you missed a whole context. That was literally the whole point of the episode.
No fucking way. The whole point of this episode. No. I'm going to strongly disagree with that.
That's why it's called The Whole Truth, is because she did not tell Jin the whole truth of the situation. That's
how could she be pregnant when she's been on this island for 60 days? She would have known by now.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
She doesn't know because
this took place not right before she went to Los Angeles. It took place like a few months, but no, definitely the context was I want to go to LA or I want to go to whatever, but it wasn't like decided that it was happening.
Oh, I'm telling you right now, that is fully what the writers were intending. That is the purpose of
the writers have a really horrible sense of time. I just want to point out there, even if this did happen, the way that they presented it, I thought this happened maybe a month or two before before she leaves, right? So if it
Mhm.
happens a month or two before she leaves, she would be done with her first trimester, would be showing, would have had symptoms most likely, right? There's a lot of
Yeah.
things. And you're telling me that like just now is when she's like, oh, I'm dizzy one day. Like, what?
Yeah, that's like
No.
that's the whole purpose of this episode, and that's why it's called The Whole Truth, is because she is given the moment to tell Jin the whole truth, and she doesn't. She still keeps a secret from Jin in the sense that instead of telling him, hey, I may or may not have cheated on you, which we don't even know if she has cheated on Jin at this point. But there is definitely something she is keeping from Jin. Like she does
Wow.
not.
I took the whole truth to being her telling him I wasn't the one with the issue, you were. And I
Oh no.
understand that the subtext there was like, oh, did she cheat? But the timing doesn't make sense. Like she would be in her second trimester at this point. And yeah, before people at home come for me, I know that there are some people who are pregnant who don't even know it and they have a baby. I get that. But what I'm saying is, what?
Now you got me thinking about Toilet Baby.
Well, I'm just sitting back there thinking, like, it doesn't make any sense timing wise that all of a sudden there's just one day where she's like, I'm woozy. Ah.
You also have to think of it from her perspective. She's thinking her husband is impotent and can't have children. And so for her to start showing signs of a pregnancy, he is chalking this up to a miracle. She doesn't know if she can trust that. Like, I think by the end of the episode, she is in the belief that, yes, this is Jin's child.
Gotcha.
But like the context of the flashbacks of there was clearly sexual tension between her and her translator. And it's the same guy. I don't know if you caught this.
No, that's what I was going to say. It's the guy that she was almost like matched up with and like all that kind of stuff. It was supposed to be arranged marriage. But that's my point. And we do know, and we learn in that episode that he doesn't go to America. So I thought this was going to be like, we definitely start an affair and all that kind of stuff. But there's this will they, won't they? And I just kind of feel like they would have just shown them actually hooking up if that was actually what happened. Yeah. But I don't think he would have gone for that. I think that he knows how powerful her father is and like how, you know, by proxy, how powerful her husband is at this point. I don't think even as like this like hotel, you know, person, what am I trying to say? I was going to say emperor, but that's not right. Like empire owner person. Like, I just think that I thought the whole point was to show that like, yeah, there were chances for her to stray and she probably really wanted to, but she never really fully went through it. That's what I thought happened. I can understand for sure if the writers were trying to say that. I'm just also saying Jin has been back for a month now ish. Very well. This could be the
Wait, you mean like
back from the raft?
No, it's only been here. Let me see. Since he got back. So the day that the whole truth happens is on day 60. The day that they get back
was like 42.
No, it was like day like 46, 47.
Okay, so that's too early for the pregnancy test, especially in like 2005.
So that's why she's kind of like weirded out and doesn't know what's going on here.
Gotcha.
And in her brain, and
that's why that a little bit.
And that's why they purposely don't show her if she did or didn't they, to kind of leave that question open-ended. They do eventually close that loop. So in the future, they do eventually close that loop of will they, won't they, did they not? But that's like meant to, that's why the name The Whole Truth has a double meaning for this one, in the sense that she hides from Jin the fact that he's impotent.
Mm-hmm.
She tells him, and their relationship kind of like has this patch on it because they have a kid, like they have a kid on the way potentially. But she also does not tell him the whole truth, in the sense that she may or may not have cheated on him. The timing is a little off on this pregnancy. And I think like she's scared. Because clearly Jai wants son. Jai is the translator. Jai wants son because
now that his love of his life in America is not there, he's like, ooh, you look great. In which case, son, you better fucking run and have some self-respect. He didn't want you before when you wanted him.
Exactly. But he now wants her because he convinces her to stay in Korea.
So my impression had been that it had been around a month since Jin had been back, and they made such a big deal of them obviously having sex.
Yes.
That I was like, oh, okay. So it's clear that this is a callback to that moment. They had they're pregnant, blah, 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 blah. The timing didn't work out before. The island is weird when it comes to this stuff. So maybe they it fixed his impotence. Like that's what I think happened.
Yeah. And it could still be.
I'm still sticking with what my gut feeling here is, which is this island does weird things to people's health. And I think that it heals the impotence of Jin, but also maybe makes things faster. Or maybe she was pregnant with Jin's baby beforehand.
And it there's definitely been an overall theme of pregnancy in this island, obviously with Claire and then with Rousseau. So there is something about this island when it comes to children that the show keeps trying to beat us over the head with, that theme consistently. Let's talk about because that kind of covers the flashbacks. A bit because there's not.
Well, here's the other thing I just want to add to that.
Yeah.
Did the writers change who she was taking English lessons with? Because in the first season, when they show in House of the Rising Sun, it's a woman who's teaching her English.
I think it's
kind of like a friend.
I think it's the woman is helping arrange the actual translation services. I don't think that's the person she's actually learning the translation from.
Gotcha. I just when he was like, we're going to continue our English lessons. And I was like,
you're like,
well, you look a little different than you did in the first season, honey. Just saying.
It is also interesting to see a westernized show tackle the cultural difference of the fertility specialist not wanting to tell Jin that he's impotent, and instead
there were things I want to say about that when he. As someone who does have endometriosis, when he gives son the whole the doctor's like, hey, you have endometriosis and it has intense scarring. It's made you infertile. A barren is almost like the words that sexistly would have used.
Yeah.
You can tell this is in the mid 2000s because we have made such strides and such since then. If you have scarring from endometriosis, yes, that can keep you infertile, but there are so many ways now to clear up scarring and endometriosis and the endometrial cells and such themselves now that it's watching it in 2021. I was like, you're telling me that a rich couple like them couldn't afford the treatment to make it? I know so many women who had scarring, who had endometriosis and pretty intensely, got it cleared up with a laparoscopy, got pregnant immediately. And so I just thought that was funny. I was like, especially, and I knew some women who were doing that in 2000, in the 2005 range too. So it just to me, I was like, then schedule her for surgery. What are you doing? In my head, that doesn't make any sense. But you're right. The cultural aspect of this, it wasn't even really cultural at the end of the day.
It was also power. Yeah. It was they're scared of her father.
It wasn't even that he was like, oh, I have to make sure that the woman is to blame. It was more hey, I have to make sure I blame you because your father / your husband will fucking kill me if I say it's them because of the appearance of power by other people.
But I guess more so what I was saying is the cultural difference in the sense of when Jin learns that Sun is infertile or per this lie, he blames her as if did you trap me? Was this a trap? Did you purposely do this? And then
That
she
pissed me off.
slaps him back in the face with the knowledge of, oh, yes, I went to go trap a fisherman's son. That was totally my plan. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, she reads him for Phil. She's like, you ain't nobody, bitch. Like,
you're a piece of shit and I married you.
Yeah.
That's a song called You're a Piece of Shit and I Married You. I wrote it as if I were son.
She did that just now.
I did. And so if anybody ever questions whether or not I've written every song that's out there, that just shows. By the way, I was in your husband's chat the other day or yesterday, because he was playing Breath of the Wild and he was riding horse, and I went, oh, I love this song so much. It's probably the favorite piece that I wrote for Breath of the Wild. And I love that your husband's got to the point where he's like, doesn't even acknowledge it anymore. And somebody in the chat who was obviously brand new because he was playing Breath of the Wild was like, you wrote the music? It was like so excited. I was like, yeah. And then of course you have people like Pink and other people who were like, yeah, Beth writes all the music for those games. And they're like, oh my God, that's so good. I love your music. And I was like,
stolen identity. You're awful. Okay. There's one thing that I need to discuss about this episode, and it's the fact that John Locke absolutely checks out Jack's dick when he leaves the shower. Did you not check that?
Yes. Sorry, I forgot the scene, and then I remembered. He
literally is like shaving, and he's like,
and
I'm like, ah.
And we had a very long discussion. We paused it, and we talked about Sawyer and Jack's dicks at length. Like,
yeah, we did.
At length, we both kind of agreed that they're probably an average, like 5-inch, 5, maybe 6-inch. But
this is not about the actors, just the characters.
Just the characters. And I'm not a big fan of shaming dick size in any capacity, because it's not something anybody can control.
And like predict and do all these things.
Predict.
Yes, predict, honey.
I fucking hate you. But it's because here's the thing. Dick size don't friggin' matter at the end of the day, because there's like lots of fun things you can do with dicks. I presume I say that as an asexual. I've played with dicks. So anyway, what we were saying is like, yes, he absolutely checks out Jack's dick and like lingers a little too long too. Like not even just like an up down check out the dick. It was like an up down, and then he kind of drooled a little bit, and he went like this.
But he wasn't actually jerking his dick off. He was just like making this motion with the razor in his hand. He's like jerking off the razor, and Jack.
And then he turned to Jack and he went, "We don't even have shaving cream. You want to know what's on my face?"
Yeah. And then they fucked.
Yeah.
That's in the director's cut of this episode, FYI.
Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that, highly recommend going to the director's cut version on Hulu. It is so good.
Spicy.
Check it out.
Down to bottom.
I did. Yeah, no. John's verse. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
John Locke's verse.
Okay, so we need to discuss, and this is... No, we'll discuss that in the second episode about Henry Gale. We'll leave all Henry Gale theories and conversation for second episode.
I have a lot of things to say with Henry Gale.
But so we get the main focus of this is the pregnancy test. We also get this fun moment of Ana Lucia saying "fuck the leadership" and doing her own thing.
Which
you should not trust
love.
her. They should not trust her.
Never. And this is what's great is that Jack is clearly dickmatized by her too, and he gets like dick slapped. Like it's so funny. It's so funny. I like so root against him that I'm like, yeah,
you like, fuck you, Jack. Fuck you.
Stupid. Oh man. No, it is pretty great. So Ana Lucia, it was like gets the map from Henry and kind of gets her own little search crew with Saeed and Charlie, right? The three of them go out and check. So it's a really interesting situation. They're looking for the balloon and such, but we'll cover the rest of that. I'm trying to remember if there's much else that happened. Oh, we have this weird like couples fight between Bernard and and Rose as they come to it. So I don't know if we're going to be brought into what is being like.
It's less of a fight. It's more of like just a little spat. But there is a cute moment of Bernard trying to fish up an oyster to get a pearl to give to Rose. And Jin's just like, okay.
But you know what I love about that moment though, is we once again hear like from Jin's perspective what it's like to not understand the people around him. And I do want to point out something that I think is really an important aspect of Jin's character that is not in any way redeeming. First of all, it is not a redeeming thing, but it is a legitimate, valid aspect, which is that he needs Sun in order to communicate with the people around him. So he's like, he literally, like, he opens up to her in this, like, I need you kind of thing. But what I hate about that is like, that is absolutely what abusive partners do, is they tell you why you are so necessary to them because they can't live in a particular way or without you or whatever, and like trap you in this way. So that's why it's not redeeming, but it is completely valid to be like, I don't fucking understand anybody here. And he is like very slowly picking up words. But it is that it's a good reminder to have from Jin's perspective of that kind of like,
it's like he literally without Sun cannot communicate with these people, and that's like a terrifying thing. It's like that's a legit scare for a lot of people that move to another country that don't speak the language there. You're kind of in an alien world and don't know what else to do. And
especially as an adult, it's so much harder to learn another language, especially English, which is one of the hardest languages to learn on Earth. Like
nuance and
it's stupid. We have like the way that we talk. It's God, I hate it.
We're fucking stupid.
Can we just talk? Like, I want to take an actual second to say, I think English is one of the ugliest sounding languages.
Yeah, we have words like bussy.
That is beautiful, and you take that back.
Moist bussy crackers.
Panties.
We love those panties. Eat your hamburger, you dirty little cowgirl.
Like, people make fun of, and there are definitely really good words to make fun of in German, but like if you hear a German person speaking German, you're like, actually, that's really quite beautiful. You know, like there's moments of that. Like if you've ever watched Inglourious Bastards, the scene that is completely in German that they subtitle, I actually am like, oh, I love the sound of all of these different people speaking German. It's so good. But I think that there's so many beautiful languages like in Asia as well, in Africa, like everybody's so fucking beautiful. Then Americans are like,
I'm just thinking like someone pulling up like a YouTube video like sexy beautiful English speakers, and it's like people just going, yes, you really fucked it up, sis. Oh my god,
you fucked it up, sis.
You're
you better work
house down boots, bitch. Like there's like Germans listening to it being
wait like, wow. Where was that kid from? Remember that kid who was he German?
German kid. Bitch. I don't know what the fuck he says.
You just sounded like you were talking in Simlish. That did not sound like German at all.
Bitch.
Either that or it was some kind of like.
It was definitely German. That was a gay German youth.
That was German youth. I don't know why you had to specify that it was a youth.
That's so fucking stupid.
Oh, man.
Okay. We had to move on to the next episode. Episode 17.
Wait, hold on. Oh, so I gave MVP, my rating. LVP. I gave my LVP. My MVP. I'm going to give it to Ana Lucia because I like that she took charge and she was like, fuck you guys, and left. That's also
the one and only time she's ever going to get it.
Probably. Yeah. And I'm also going to say that she put Saeed in check, who was like ready to go back and kill this guy. And she was like, no, we need to do due diligence here, which I did not expect a cop to be the one saying that. So I'm going to give MVP for the bare fucking minimum, but it was given.
And she got a gun and didn't go fucking crazy.
She did not get the gun.
I thought she did. No, she
No,
didn't.
Charlie
She did
gives
not
it
give
to Saeed.
That's right. That's right.
He goes
You are
like this.
correct. He makes that noise.
You want this gun?
Fucking gun, analyst. You can't get this gun.
Why do people put pistols in the
their butt crack?
Like in their butt crack / in the front, like in your waistband? That makes no sense.
I just put it in my hole.
You know how many people have like shot their dick off by doing that?
I want to see the stats.
Probably 3.
I would love to see the stats. Actually,
I'm going to look this up.
How often men have, or people with penises have accidentally shot their penis off with a gun.
How often do people shoot their own dick?
Let's see. Google, come through, Google.
This is Mel Magazine. I have no idea how credible this is. A brief history of guys shooting themselves in the dick. This sort of thing happens far too often.
They cite Lost for like 15 of them.
They have 6 examples. And then
what?
The last one, I guess he didn't know. So in this 1-minute clip, we see a man who appears to be from the U.S. expertly load a Glock, then holster the handgun inside the front of his pants. When he walks over to a shelf and bends over to pick something up, the gun suddenly fires and with a shocking loud bang. But when a woman rushes to his side and asks where he was shot, he claims he doesn't know. The last line of the article then says, "Come on, dude, you just shot yourself in the dick. How could you not know?"
Oh my God.
So it is the thing, according to this one magazine I've never heard of, that I have no idea how credible it is.
And that's enough credibility for me.
But I've heard about that happening, and I have to say, it's just stupid. Why would you put a loaded gun when you're moving around? Like, it makes no sense.
I mean, we're also they could make a little holster maybe. Oh, that'd be kind of cute. Make a little holster out of like bamboo.
Just hold the gun. That's
too much work. Okay, so we have to talk about lockdown.
Okay.
We have to talk about the shit.
This one is going to get a 9 out of 10 for me. This is a great episode.
Yes.
I really, really like it. It's still not like a perfect 10 out of 10 episode for me, but there's definitely issues. There's definitely some issues, but I like it. So let's actually start off with where the other episode leads off with like the Henry Gale of it all. Okay.
Yeah.
So Ana Lucia and Saeed are in Charlie. Charlie finds the grave of Henry Gale's story. I'm from Minnesota. I buried my wife next to the balloon, and my balloon has a giant smiley face on it. We were hot air ballooning, blah, 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 blah. And I buried her there because it's the closest thing that I have to like home here is this balloon that I came in on. So they find the grave. It's raining where they are on the island. And Ana Lucia goes, "How come it's not raining in this one spot?" And then they look up as if they wouldn't have seen this beforehand.
Or hear the rain, obviously on a tarp or like tarp-like material above them.
And so they look up, they see the balloon. And they're like, okay, so there is a grave here. But what we find out is at the same time, Kate and Jack are in the. Is it Jack who's in the forest? Who's Kate with when she discovers the food? Isn't it Jack?
Oh yes, she's with Jack, and they see the beeping light.
They see, like a flashing light, and they're like, "What's this?" It's like nighttime, right? Or like sundownish. So they go over and they see this huge like delivery, kind of like think of the Hunger Games when you when a sponsor sends you like medicine.
Yeah.
And so you get like a little thing, but except for this is a giant fucking like huge crate thing
filled with food.
Specifically, you see the what I'm going to call the Dharma O's, which are like
the Dharma cereal. Yeah.
The Dharma cereal. So what ends up happening is they run into Saeed and Ana Lucia and such, and Jack's like, "Well, did you find the stuff?" And they're like, "Yeah, but we also found this." And then they show him this
Well,
ID.
Yeah, they don't show it yet. They show it when they're in the hatch pressing.
No, they show it to him, but we don't see what it
Oh,
says.
yeah,
That's what the
what I mean, that's what I
cliffhanger
mean.
is.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
then
mean.
the episode ends, and I'm like, oh, they showed something. What did they show? So then we cut to this episode, Lockdown. There's a shit ton that happens in it. But what's interesting is now what was this first thing in the episode that they...
So I think you got the episode kind of confused. It wasn't until the second episode that they discover the Dharma Initiative payload.
Oh, I thought that was the end of the first episode, and that's what the cliffhanger was.
The end of the first episode is them just arriving in that part of the jungle. So they don't even find the parachute. They don't find the grave. They find that in the same episode. And then obviously we get to that moment where the place locks down, but it starts off really weird because they hear like something weird, like talking on the radio.
Why
it honestly sounds glitching.
Oh, Jack went to go try to find them because Henry spins this story essentially. So Jack feels bad.
Yeah.
And as we know, Jack and Locke are having this like power struggle, dick measuring contest kind of thing with who gets to make decisions about what to do with this guy or just generally with the hatch, that kind of thing. So Jack decides, well, Locke already told Ana Lucia about this guy. And so I want to make sure that I have the upper hand. So I'm going to let him out of the armory prison cell and let him have cereal, let him have a breakfast. And so he brings him out and Locke is like, you think this is a good idea? And he goes, I don't see why not. And like they have that moment, me looking at each other.
Yeah.
And then he says something along the lines of like, well, because Ana Lucia doesn't tell them that Henry drew the map.
Which is smart.
Which was super smart because then they would have like definitely had their own issue with it, you know?
Yeah, they wouldn't have let her go do what she wanted to do, which was prove this guy's innocence. Like that, that was kind of her driving force there, was to like help this guy out, basically. Exactly.
So what she ends up doing is she takes off with this map or whatever, right? And he spins this whole tale of like, wow, it's, you know, unless I was like this whole, I drew this map and, whoa, she didn't tell you? And they're like, whoa, what map? And he's like, oh, I drew a map to the balloon. Yeah. And then he's like, oh, what if I had been, you know, trying to set her up to be ambushed, essentially.
What if I sent her to an orgy? How would you think about that, Jack? You fucking dignitized.
Yeah. So he basically sets it up like, if I'm one of these people that you thought I was, which I'm not, but if I were, I might have just sent her to get ambushed by people.
Yeah.
So Jack's like, oh my God, put him back in the armory. Look, and then he's like, I gotta go find them, and then Kate goes with him.
Yeah, that's how it all.
And that's why they leave. Yeah. So then they're gone, and here's what happens.
Like this shit's crazy. Like let's just talk about the broad stuff because I want to get into theories.
Like, incredible.
Yeah.
So basically, they're listening. They hear like or Locke. It's like glitchy. There's something in like the whatever. And he's like, that's weird. I've never heard that from the speaker when I'm like playing a record or something. Then he realizes it's from a speaker that is not like connected to the record.
Yeah.
And he hears like static kind of stuff.
There's a woman
talking. Kind of like a woman doing some kind of announcement. And then he goes to like fix it. And Henry's going, what's going on?
Yeah. He's just like, what's the noise?
Tell me what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Essentially, it goes into like a lockdown.
Yeah, she starts counting down. It's like something about quarantine, or it says something like along those lines. It's very hard to understand. Yeah, and then it goes into full lockdown. So they've got like blast doors on every entrance you can think of, except for the vents, which doesn't make any sense. But
no. He said that there was a vent that did have a lock on it, just not the one in the pantry.
No, I think he said he couldn't get into the vent. Like just regardless, you can't enter that vent. I think it's the only vent that they can have access to get into is through the pantry.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing that he smartly does is he finds something to like shove underneath one of the last blast doors so that when it falls down, it can't actually go down all the way. So then he recruits Henry's help, where they have this promise of basically like, you can't kill me if I help you, essentially, or you got to protect me. So he comes out, they lift it up a little bit more, they get a toolbox underneath, and then he's like, it's been 2 seconds. Let me try to crawl under it.
Let me try to crawl under the part where there's clearly like pistons. Like,
yeah, what? I mean, there's the area that didn't have pistons, you couldn't fit under loft.
Yeah.
Nobody could. Not even Walt, if Walt was there.
Yeah.
Like, so it was so stupid. Wouldn't you want to wait and see if that even holds the door for more than 5 seconds?
Yes. Or just go through the vent system. Like,
that you just talked about.
You just got through talking about this vent system. Maybe go through the vents to go turn off the button. Just an idea.
It was stupid. So regardless, he goes to crawl under. Blast doors come down. A piston goes into his leg.
Oh, and it's grisly.
It's because it's not sharp. You're looking at a dull metal object with pure force and power going through and doing a punch hole into your body. And so he's sitting there stuck with it. Henry's able to kind of help alleviate some of it a little bit, but then he has to try to get in there because the alarm's going to go off like the 108 seconds. So he's got to go through. He falls down, kind of knocks himself out for a second, is able to eventually go through, does the 108, and it gets lifted out of lockdown a few seconds after that.
Before that, the black lights kick in. So like there's black lights that kick in and a very strange map, which I'm going to pull up right now so we can look over it.
I'm excited because I wanted to see it some more. I know that it said, I am here. So somebody wrote, I am here. And it looked like it was all the different Dharma Initiative sites on the island. If I recall correctly.
Find the best photo of it. That is a shit photo of it, but I think that might be. No, that's not gonna. Wait, hold up. Wait, work. All right, this is a good photo. This is a good photo.
Right.
All right, so let me share my screen. For those that are on audio only, we will just talk about this beautiful, beautiful moment. This blast door map shows up. And it does say, I am here. And also, I think it says Neptune, or I can't see what that says. There's like different. This one says the staff. This one says the Swan. This one says the Swan.
Yep.
So it's like it's like different stations.
That one up there at the top looks like Pelican or something like that.
This one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's one that's scribbled out.
And
there's like notes all over that are kind of in like, they're not legible.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not legible, but it does say I am here. And it clearly shows a map of what the hatch looks like. But it also shows that there are X's leading towards multiple places that point to the center of the island, which to me tells me you can't access them, but at one point you could. So I think, and obviously the Swan is the largest one too. And we did see one of the places on the other side of the island, which I assume is like the one that's scratched out or something.
Yeah, because there was like nothing in there. There was nothing in there.
And it was also like very small comparatively. But there's other ones that look around that size. But regardless.
And the staff, was that the symbol that was on the hospital that they took Claire to?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that this one, that the staff symbol looks like, what's Hermes?
Yeah, the medical symbol.
Cadius. I can't think of what the name is.
Caduceus.
Caduceus. There you go. So it's the basically the staff with the snakes going around it. So it's the what we consider, the medical symbol. So I think that makes sense there. But it is interesting to see
in the middle is like a giant question mark with a dotted line circling it
around it. Yeah, and so all the sites have a huge accent that lead to that circle. So it seems like it's almost like the whole point is to try to find that circle place.
There's also like a little penis. It looks like someone.
It does. It looks like multiple penises that were shot off at the tip. So it all comes back.
It all comes back.
It's a circle.
It does.
So yeah, interesting stuff there. I don't know who did that, and I don't think it was the Australian dude.
Yeah, I don't think they've. Oh yeah, Desmond.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so
am I allowed to ask? Do we ever see Desmond again? You can also refrain from answering.
Yes. I'll say yes. You do see Desmond again.
I figured. In the same way,
9 times out of 10, if you see a character, they usually show up again, like later on. If they're on the island, I should say. So we've talked about this map.
Mm-hmm.
I want your theories on Henry Gale, because we learn at the end that the real Henry Gale is actually who's in that grave. And Henry Gale's tone definitely changes by the end of the episode, and like the demeanor.
So, Saeed. Oh my God, Saeed.
Saeed
and Ana Lucia and Charlie discover in the grave that it's actually male remains, and they find Henry Gale's license, which just says Minnesota on it, and it was a black man that is clearly not this guy.
Yeah.
So it is very interesting. I'm still not convinced he's an other. I think he's still maybe potentially like under like the spell. I think that Rousseau, for all of her faults, you kind of need to listen to her. And one of her biggest points is he will lie for a very long time. And so I don't know if that means he's sick or if he's like, that's part of the illness, like he's not who he is kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or if this is a defense mechanism he has said in order to buy him time, either with the others or with himself. I have a hard time believing he would just be off on his own if he was part of the others, because they seem like they would travel in groups until they hear like, oh, there's another plane that crashed or something.
Yeah.
They'll feel them out and then like maybe send spies. But at this point, they've been on the island long enough. They've already been caught out a few times. I don't think they would just send some random person. So that tells me he's not officially a part of the others, but I think he's sick somehow and needs to it's like he needs to have that broken through to him that you are not who you are.
So do you think then by that theory, he is not a bad person? He is like just maybe
all these people are both good and bad. I think the others are both good and bad. I think that's the whole point of this place, is that we often view people who aren't with us as against us. And I think if anything with this map, I think everybody might be moving towards a similar goal. Like, I think that I don't think the others know how to get to the center place. I think it's like hidden to them. I think that's what their quest is. That's why they don't want other people to go farther on the island. That's why they keep up appearances, because it's like that is their quest for this island. And I feel like the Dharma Initiative might be some weird. I've brought up Purgatory before. I've also brought up like Hunger Games kind of thing, but I feel like it's like a Hunger Games without knowing what you're trying to do. So like, we're going to put you in this like arena kind of thing and see how long it takes people to figure out what they're supposed to do on this island in order to escape.
Okay. And we do learn that the Dharma Initiative must still exist in some capacity because there are still goods being sent to this island.
Yeah.
So even though it's like a bunker that's clearly from like the late 60s, early 70s, it is still being supplied with fresh materials, which begs into question, are the experiments that they are trying to run in these stations still happening? Or
I think they're the experiment.
Yeah, they very well could be.
I think that I really truly think of this as like the experiment is trying to see how long it takes for people. Like if you think about it in a purgatory sense, right? There's two facets to it. It's like, how do you teach the mice to go through a maze kind of thing? So that's the aspect of like, how do you get the people to learn how the island works, right? But the other aspect of this is, how do you get people to change themselves for the better without fully dying? That's the purgatory sense. So I feel like it's twofold. You have, how do you figure out the island, but also figure out how to make yourself a better human? And the Dharma Initiative, as we saw, has people of all different scientific backgrounds, but one of the ones they were really prominent about was psychology. And that's what I think it's psychology. I mean, I took Psych 101 in college. I had to deal with fucking getting a mouse through a maze. Like, it's like one of the most basic things, right? So try to do that with humans on a really complex scale when they feel like their life is in danger, all these different kinds of things, but also take people who potentially have some really fucked up things they need to work through.
For sure.
So I think I
think that makes sense. I think that makes sense, especially with like what we've been presented with so far in the show.
And it makes sense because it's 100% right.
We'll see. We will see. Okay, so MVP and LVP for this episode.
MVP is Henry Gale, 100%.
He did that shit. He
ate this episode up.
Oh, do you think his name is Henry Gale? Do you think?
No.
Okay, so you think he just adopted that name?
Here's the thing. He might think he is Henry Gale. That might be a part of what this whole like weird blah thing is going on.
Maybe it's a Rachel Dolezal situation. Oh, that'd be it's like Lost. What are you doing?
This is about, 7 years too early. No.
Yikes.
I have no sense of timing of when that whole situation came out.
I have no idea. I just love making fun of Rachel Dolezal. That's so stupid. She's a
fucking stupid.
She's a dumbass. Okay, so MVP Henry Gale, LVP Hoomst.
I think I gotta give it to Locke.
Okay.
Because he's really dumb in this episode.
Did you hear my husband?
I don't know what he said.
He's so silly. He's so cute.
Also,
I agree.
I think him and to our friend Dust for calling both of us in the middle of us. Like, there was a moment where I was trying to think of what I was trying to say. Then all of a sudden I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, Discord call. No, I agree. I think Locke was down this episode. Lockdown.
I do think though that the redeeming quality for Locke here is that I do think the right thing is to ultimately trust Henry Gale or whatever his name is. I do think that he will prove to actually be loyal to this group of people.
Okay.
Whether it's a Stockholm syndrome thing or not, I don't know, because they have not treated him well at all.
No, they have not.
So I wouldn't blame him for defecting, but I also feel like it just doesn't seem like he's a part of the others. I feel like he's like truly confused.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily a theory. It's more of like a what if I'm coming off. It's off the cuff. It's off the top of the head.
Yes.
What if he is actually one of the scientists, but completely forgot everything? Like they like wiped his brain essentially when he got here.
Okay.
No idea what he's doing.
That would be fun. That would be a fun little twist.
Because he's I'm just so used to him. It's twisted, the little things in my brain.
Yeah.
No, he seems like, I think it's just because this actor always plays like such a genius kind of character. That's it's hard to say. I just can't shake the fact that he's got to be some smart scientist dude here. You know?
No, you might be right. Okay, so next episode is called Dave. Who do you think it's a centric episode about?
Well, I know it's not about Rose. because you
It's
said.
not.
Okay, Dave. I
And
feel
you're
like I've heard
it's
Dave
about
before.
Dave.
Oh, is it about Henry Gale?
It
Is that his name?
not.
Dave?
It is not. I wish that would be a sick ass like episode, but no. It is. Oh, do you want me to tell you?
No, yeah, go ahead.
It is a Hurley centric episode. Next episode, and it
also
deals.
Shout out to Hurley, who says, "I don't know anything because y'all don't ever let me in on shit."
Calls him out,
and then he goes, "Bro," and then he walks away, dude.
Dude. Next episode deals with a lot of conversation around mental health, and I am curious how it ages in 2021. I truly don't remember a lot of this episode. I remember more of the on island stuff, less of the flashbacks of this episode. This is also, I think, the first Hurley episode that is less comedy focused.
Oh, okay.
So it is like, it's still funny because it's a Hurley episode, but it is testing. Oh my God, who is the actor? It is testing Jorge Garcia's acting chops.
Oh, I can't wait to see it then.
Yeah. So he is giving us a different side of Hurley than we normally get. So I'm curious to see if it ages well. Also, Dave was the Australian man who repeated the numbers 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42.
That's where I've heard the name, because I knew that I've heard Dave somewhere, but I couldn't remember who. So
yes. So it's definitely going to be an interesting episode. After
is this when he's going to be in the mental facility?
There is a lot of moments that are in the mental facility.
I don't know in what capacity he was in there, if he was a patient or if he was like worked there or something in some capacity. But
yeah, it's going to be an interesting episode. I'm curious to see how it ages. And so next week we're covering Dave, which is episode 18. After that, we're covering episode 19 and 20, then 21 and 22, and then the fucking finale. And then we are done with season 2, honey, in 4 weeks.
We have one episode of the Nanny this coming week.
And then we get the fucking first episode of season 3, which is going to fucking blow your mind.
I can't wait.
Literally, if there is one episode that shook that shook all television to its core, it is the premiere episode of season 3.
Ooh, I'm stoked.
To its fucking core, to the point where there are shows that are still.
Does Jack die?
No. Maybe.
I would have died if you were like, no, he dies before that. And I'd be like, whoa, I just punched myself in the eye.
No, episode 3.
Ow.
Episode 3, or like season 3's premiere is so fucking good that there are shows even to this day that have learned things from how Lost handles season 3 and is like, okay, we're stealing that. So I'm very excited, but that'll be
exciting because I feel like season 3 of The Nanny is also like when that really starts to hit its stride. So this is going to be really cool.
I will say season 3, while amazing, absolutely suffers from the writer's strike, and you will heavily know when that hits. Like there is a severe dip in quality in the writing of the episodes. Once the writers, it's like 4 or 5. It's like 4 or 5 episodes in season 3 where you're like, ooh, girl, you could tell that this is not the normal writers for this show. This is like someone else was writing this in the interim. Ooh. Yeah. But they're still interesting episodes, and they do expand the lore a little bit. But they are weird. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in this week. We will be back on Tuesday with another Nanny episode. And until then, bye.
Follow our social media.
Yeah, no, just leave. I'm just kidding. All right, yeah, follow us on Hot Mess Moments. Follow all of us and love your people.
Guess I'm gonna love it.
Bye.